Hi, this is Tom, and welcome back to another episode of the Ketogenic Fasting Project Gone Carnivore. My guest today is Kevin Van Dorn. He's all the way on the other side of the country in Florida, and I'm here in Southern California, and we're both in really hot places. Today we're talking about our health journeys and the influence it's had on people around us, and the influence maybe that we wish it had on other people. So Kevin, why don't you give them a little sketch out of what's happened since you started your keto journey, your meat-heavy keto journey?
All right. Well, hey, so my wife and I started this just over a year ago. At my peak weight, I was 287 pounds. It's kind of embarrassing to say that because I'm not a very tall guy. Kind of rounder than I am tall almost at that point.
Mm.
And, over the last 12 months, I've lost 94 pounds.
Jeez.
So I'm now in the 100 club. I've been there since June, which was quite an accomplishment.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was, I think I haven't been in under 200 since I think 1996. So, I think it was like 5 minutes after I got out of the Navy, I just went, part of that was because I worked in the machine, in the engine room, which was like 140 degrees.
Wow.
So it was probably hard to maintain weight there.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got out, here it came. Because I was at the time working, 2 jobs and going to school at the same time. So was not picking the best health options either.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing this for about a year. And the reason, again, we started doing this, we started, kind of discovering, we had done a little bit of low carb before, then we found, the keto was getting really hot. And then we ran across a lot of like Dr. Eric Westman's material.
Yeah.
And he's great because he really simplified it, and it's more of a protein prioritization version of keto, right? So you eat a lot of protein. You don't really add any fat, where a lot of the keto groups are, you have to eat 80% fat and, 20 grams of carbs or 5%. It's in this case, it's
macros.
Yeah, you're maintaining macros. You're spending all your time. And some of them are even like really even calorie restrictive too.
Sure.
So that's a huge formula for failure, right? So the Dr. Westman methodology is just, you eat fatty meats and non-starchy vegetables, and you eat until you're full, and you don't eat when you're not hungry. That's as complicated as his protocol is, and that's so basically you're creating a system instead of setting goals. Right? So if you can systematically decide how you want to eat, so we're eating steak or ground beef. That's most days. And as it turns out, you end up kind of falling into an intermittent fast by doing that, by eating until you're really. So I think Dr. Jordan Peterson called it intermittent feasting.
Yeah,
right?
I think Sean Baker likes to call it that too.
Yeah, you're just eating until you're very full, and you have less compulsion to snack during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So you just wait until you're very hungry, and then you eat a lot, and then you wait until you're very hungry, and you eat a lot. Right. And it ends up happening. You end up, without even trying, you end up eating less calories than you would, when you're trying to cut calories. So it's just kind of a nice little system you create, and I highly believe in systems over goals, right? So instead of setting these little goals of I'm only going to eat so many calories, or I'm going to eat this much fat and all that, instead just eat the appropriate foods, the sapien diet, and it all kind of falls in place. Eating real food, not eating any processed food, at all. And that's probably the biggest thing. You're not eating out of a box. You're not eating, I will admit I do eat at McDonald's a lot, but it's just the double quarter pounder with no bun, right? So that's kind of what it is. It's just a meat heavy diet.
I don't eat at McDonald's because every time I drive past there's this huge line, and I'm like, I'm not going to do it.
I understand.
There's not enough restaurants to serve all the people, believe it or not, here where I live anyway. So yeah, we have well, you used to live out here, so you're familiar with In-N-Out.
Mm-hmm.
They built a brand new gigantic In-N-Out up the street, and you drive by there any time that they're open, and there's 20, 30 cars in line to get in there.
Wow.
And no parking. And they have to have somebody there directing traffic so that people can get through the rest of the shopping center. So,
That's quite the success model they have there.
yeah. The world's
So,
smallest menu too, never changing.
oh, true. Well, hey, again, simplicity works.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, we got into this to lose weight, and then when we did discover also, just kind of by sheer fact, observation was that I have some pretty severe autoimmune diseases, and I had noticed all of a sudden like I feel a lot better, but I was on Humera, which is it's a big autoimmune suppressant.
Right.
I started getting some pretty bad side effects all of a sudden, right? So I'd been on this stuff for 15 years and had never had a problem. But all of a sudden I was getting really bad upper respiratory infections. So I'm like, okay, well, what you do when you have that is you get off the medicine for a while until the infections go away. Talked to my doctor about it. And she said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And I got off of it expecting to go into a major flare, right? So because I'd been on this stuff for 15 years, I was really expecting to have a bad, pain reaction. And I didn't. Like, So stayed off it for a couple more months, talked to my doctor, went back and had all my x-rays and testing and stuff done. Everything looked good. Nothing got worse. Everything it actually got a little better. All my inflammation markers went down. So now it's been almost a year. I haven't been on Humera or any other, not even a leave. It's very rare I even have to take on a leave unless maybe I go do I go out and work out too hard or something, and that's okay. That happens. But as far as day-to-day pain, no, it's not an issue. So and my wife, her lupus symptoms have pretty much vanished. She still has some her thyroid is still not 100% great, but overall improvement across the board.
Yeah, and to give people an idea, I think you said you suffered from ankylosing spondylitis, which causes a curvature of the spine. And what else? You had high blood sugar, and
I had type 2 diabetes. I was able to get off. Actually, that was one of the things that kind of triggered the keto look. Right, went to the doctor. She said, "All right, you're already on metformin. Your blood sugar is too high. I want you to go on insulin." I'm like, all right, hold it. I'm already injecting myself once a week with the Humera. I don't really want to inject every, several times a day insulin.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of my motivation to check out, a ketogenic diet for that reason. And that worked. It brought my blood sugar back down into the normal range. And I've been keeping track of it pretty often since. It's still great. So, that by itself, again, talk about those little things that matter as much as the weight loss. It's those other things that, you say we don't talk about so much that are really what are really important to me. And I think would be helpful to a lot of people as well.
Yeah, like quality sleep. We were talking about that. It's, me getting back to the gym and lifting weights makes a big difference in being able to get a good night's sleep. And of course, if you want to make gains at the gym, you got to sleep anyway. So it's a nice little system. So, but being pain-free, I suffered with pain like you did too. I mean, from a different source perhaps, but still an autoimmune disease. I think a lot of people don't realize that, these drugs like Humera and some of the other ones you see on TV, they actually suppress your immune system.
Right.
It leaves you open to getting other infections and stuff like that. They're really just your immune system's overactive and it's attacking your body. So they give you drugs to slow down or stop certain aspects of your immune system. And then, opportunistic infections eventually get a foothold.
Right. Well, and also in the case of ankylosing spondylitis, I read a study. It was back in 1996, so it's not even new information that ankylosing spondylitis is mistaking starches for a protein that it wants to attack.
Really?
So yeah, so when you're ingesting starches, you're actually creating the scenario for your body to start attacking your cartilage and everything else. So this is not new information. And sometimes when I read this, I get really frustrated with the fact that we've been putting up with this crap for so long.
Yeah. There's so many things like that you wish people knew, especially people with ankylosing spondylitis. I know I was taking a leave for my joint pain when the arthritis was really bad, and it was one of the things that really drove my psoriasis.
Mm.
It when I was reading the label, I was like, well, look at that. They know it can cause psoriasis. Well, it turns out a lot of those over-the-counter pain relievers. And then to take that a step further, when I went on the PKD diet, the paleo ketogenic diet from Paleo Medicina, they're like, you don't want to take any supplements in pill form, period, because a lot of those are packaged with substances to help them pass through the lining of your intestine, right? Which is kind of the source of a lot of autoimmune disease. You get a leaky gut.
Yeah.
You get proteins and other things passing through the very thin single cell layer wall directly into the bloodstream. And then the immune system thinks it's some sort of infection or some rogue protein that it needs to control. Starts making all these antibodies, and those antibodies go out and attack tissues in your body and cause things like psoriasis and ankylosing spondylitis and so on and so forth, right? So starches, Aleve, supplements, vitamins, various forms of food. I was talking about dairy and egg and stuff with you earlier. Those can all be triggers. But if you go back to a meat diet, a lot of times that stuff resolves itself, and you don't need. I don't know what you were paying for your Humera, but I know one of those biologics, they call them, those, they said the average cost was $15,000 a year, and you were on it for how many years?
I was on it for 15 years.
15 years, $15,000 a year.
Yeah, and actually, I will say it wasn't 15 years continuous because of that issue, right? There were times I would be, without insurance or whatever, and I just had to stop. And it used to be, I think, at some points I was paying $1,500 a dose.
Ooh.
Yeah. But over the last couple of years, they've got these programs now where I guess it's paid for itself now, right? So now they've got these $5, you can become an addict for $5. It does help, right? I mean,
sure.
you understand why people do it, because it does.
It is a solution.
Yeah, it does help you with the pain.
Yeah.
It does suppress your immune system. But as it turned out, when I went on a ketogenic diet, it actually caused all of a sudden my immune system was working really well.
Yeah.
Well, to the point that, or actually maybe it was the other way. It was making the Humera work better, so it was actually suppressing my immune system. Whereas before, my immune system was so strong that even on the Humera, it was like it wasn't attacking my joints, but I wasn't getting sick either, right? So I got on a ketogenic diet. All of a sudden, I started getting sick. So I guess it was actually caused the Humera to work better, which I guess that's okay, but not really, because I didn't want to be sick either. There used to be, I would never get sick, right? Yeah. I would, like everybody else would get the flu, not me. Even one time when we were, I was on the aircraft carrier and we were down off the coast of Haiti, just about everybody else on the ship got the Haitian flu, and that was a bad one, right? I mean, it was like putting people in the infirmary for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And we actually had people die as a result of that. I ended up getting it for 2 hours.
Huh.
I mean, I had a super strong immune system, which was, I guess, great, but it was also so strong it was attacking my joints. So this is a nice compromise.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't gotten a cold or flu or anything since I've been on carnivore. And when I was keto before that, I got the flu that last Christmas. I was on keto, right when I
Mhm.
transitioned to carnivore. I had a sore throat for a few days, and that was it. I haven't been sick since, and
Mhm.
I've never gone a whole year in my life without getting a cold or the flu or whatever. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody gets it at the office, and somebody brings it home. Usually I get it. I'd get all kinds of. I had seasonal allergies bad, and then eventually I'd get a sinus infection when
Yeah.
my allergies were really bad. And I used to take all kinds of meds and stuff like that that kind of helped. And now I don't
Yeah.
take anything for allergies, or I haven't been sick.
That's
So
great.
yeah, I think there's something to it, and I wonder if that's kind of because your immune system really is your first line of defense against cancers too, right?
Sure. Sure.
So
And this is where things get a little bit, dicey with people. Is on Facebook, I'm a member of ankylosing spondylitis groups, rheumatoid arthritis groups, and you start talking about how changing your way of eating can improve.
hmm
I never say it's going to cure it, right? But
yeah,
it's going to improve it, and people get very touchy, right? It's like, well, you can't come in here and say this kind of, because one of the things we know, well, I know, is that you are so addicted to that processed crap food
hmm
that you know what those carbohydrates, those sugars, those sweets, you're so addicted to, you can't imagine ever giving them up. And so you will defend that and call everybody else a kook that would never even make that suggestion.
absolutely. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
got kicked out of every psoriasis group I was in, every arthritis group I was in, because even saying that there was any sort of cure, and then people get into all these obscure arguments that there's this sort of weird twisting of the language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't use the word cure is off the table, and then they argue with you like, well, it's like if you had arsenic poisoning and you got rid of it, but you started eating arsenic again, you'd still get arsenic poisoning, so you weren't cured. It's like, well, if I stop taking a leave, my psoriasis flare goes down. So,
Mm-hmm.
why is that? Why am I saying that diet might have being a major role in arthritis and psoriasis or whatever, or leaky gut? Even people would say, oh, there's no such thing as leaky gut. And you
Mm-hmm.
look at PubMed, and there's literally like hundreds of studies.
Sure,
People
sure.
study it. There's tests
And
for
plus, if you're going to go back to taking arsenic, you've got a problem.
it. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, once you've identified that there's a poison that you should not be eating, uh, doesn't that tell you that maybe you should probably not be eating? I mean, it's that to me is a terrible argument. That, well, so you're not cured because you can't eat arsenic. Well, don't eat arsenic, right? It's
Right.
like the old you go to the doctor and says it hurts when I laugh. Don't laugh, right? I mean, these are things that once you identify what are your triggers, et cetera. Okay, maybe it's not a cure, but it is a way to make your quality of life better
Right.
and your health better.
Right.
And that's really the ultimate goal, right? And that's kind of where I get saddened by people because they will defend that their carbohydrates, their junk food till the end. Like,
Sure.
okay, hopefully you'll realize at some point that you don't necessarily is your pain level is so bad that
Right.
you will give it a shot, right? And then
Right.
when you feel better, you step away from that for a minute. You might go, well, maybe that donut really wasn't worth it. Maybe feeling better is is worth not eating the junk food.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, it's hard to say when somebody's going to get to that level of discomfort, or they hit rock bottom, or they're willing to, try something. And
mm-hmm.
I think, that on the onset, when people start talking about making any sort of change, just giving up bread or something, they seem to be in fear. It's like, I could never give up bread, or I could never give up donuts, or whatever it is. And then, guys like us would get, a couple years down the road, my dog there in the background.
Yeah, I see it.
We're like, God, I've done so many things that I never thought I could do. and there's nothing really special about me. I'm not like really good at making changes or whatever. But I think curiosity drove me quite a bit. I think maybe I started because I read about people like us who had done it, and the curiosity built in me. It's like, well, I could try it for a day. I could try it for a week. I could try it for a month. Maybe, do you have something to say about the influence you've had about of people around you? I mean, what have you noticed?
Right. So yeah, definitely, especially coworkers. Right? I work for a small company, but people have definitely noticed. You lose 94 pounds in a year, people notice, right? And I forget, and sometimes I don't see these people for maybe like once a month, maybe once every 2 months. And then they're like, whoa. And that's the thing I've also heard is like when people ask you, when they don't ask you what you're doing, they ask you how you did it.
Right.
They are ready to listen. Right now, they've got their attention. Right, so by seeing a transformation, and then you tell them, and they ask you, well, what's your exercise routine? And I look at them and I go, well, I ate a lot of meat. Didn't really, kill myself to do this. We'll do a little bit of, just a little bit of cardio, but nothing substantial.
Yeah.
And they tilt like, well, but because we're so calories in, calorie out mindset.
Yeah.
That I've got to burn all these calories. I got to eat less calories. Got to move more, eat less, and it's like they tilt. They don't quite get it, but they can't deny the change that you've had, right? So it gets them thinking, and especially when you tell them like, this is not a difficult thing. These are small changes you can make. You can just change the way you eat, and the kind of the philosophy I have is, yes, I do. If you look at it in technical, yes, I do eat less than 20 grams of carbs a day, and I'm eating meat. But the beauty of it is I'm just eating a lot of filling food, right? A lot of high protein, satiating food. And if you do that, it's really not difficult to eat low carb then, right? Because you're filling up so fast that when you're done, you're like, well, I don't have any room for a donut anyway. I don't have room for, for anything else besides what I've already eaten.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and not eat again until I'm hungry again. I'll eat some more, and it's kind of, you ask yourself the question is, if what I'm got to put in my mouth, is this going to improve my health or not improve my health? Well, if the answer is no, well, then pick the thing that's going to make you improve your health and eat a lot of it.
Right. Protein and fat are very satisfying. I hear people arguing, protein's the satisfying one. No, fat's the satisfying one. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're both pretty satisfying.
Yeah. So this way to solve that is I eat fatty meats.
Exactly. So
argument over.
Tell yourself, I'm going to eat this steak or ground beef or whatever. I'm going to eat that first, and then I'm going to reassess my temptation to eat the bad food or eat 2 steaks or whatever it is.
That's it. I have in my freezer, we keep, I feed it to our dogs too. We have a, big Walmart box of ground beef patties, right? We buy the 8 pounds, right? 32 patties.
Nice.
So that's what I'll do. I'll eat a couple of those. If I'm still hungry, I'll have some more. And it's great for the dogs. It's great for portion control, right? So that's what they eat. So we know exactly how much they eat with each meal. And that's just the easiest thing, right? And a lot of times, even at nighttime. So like a lot of times I get that sweet craving at night. Those hamburger patties, I've kind of reprogrammed my brain that savory is just as good as sweet, as long as I'm full, right? So be satisfied and move on with it. So as long as if you can replace those things and get satiated on that kind of food, you're going to lose the weight and you're going to feel better and you're going to eat less garbage.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And of course, the farther away you get from eating a bunch of sweets and stuff like that, the smaller the cravings, right? I mean, you go a few months without eating a bunch of sugar, you stop wanting it, right?
Yeah. Precisely. And then you realize it's self-destructive, right? So if you're like, well, I don't really want that because that means that's going to be negative to me. And I'm really liking the way I feel right now. And so why would I want to go sabotage myself? So,
yeah, I mean, I probably ate some sort of bread product every day in my life since I was a little kid until one day I didn't. And it really wasn't that big a deal.
Right. Yeah. You talked about, well, I could never give up my bread. I could never give up my cereal. I call that the argument from lack of imagination.
I might have to steal that.
Yeah. You're welcome to it.
I think we both kind of talked about like the fact that we wish we had a little more influence on family members, but your wife is very much involved in this, right?
Yes. Yeah. We do this together. One of the things what we did was we started a Facebook group and a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. And the whole idea of that was to keep ourselves in check, right? So we could monitor our own progress and share with people. And we haven't been as active in that as much lately, but we're starting to pick it back up again, starting to get our mojo back. And so within that, we do know people are watching that and are observing as family members and other folks, and even, as I said, people from work. So yeah, they notice, and even if they don't say anything, well, I might notice something on like Facebook and something. Yeah, I'm starting keto this week. Okay, great. I know that they've watched this. Even if they never give us one word of credit, I'm okay with that, right? It's if they improve their health because it's something they observe that we're doing, and we're being consistent, right?
Right.
That's the one thing. We're not like 1 week we're on keto and 1 week we're not. I see a lot of people like, they're on and off and they're on and off and they're on and off. But we've been consistent for 13 months now. I think we've had maybe one day on our wedding anniversary we didn't stay within 20 grams of carbs. I think we might have went all the way up to like 50 that day. Right.
Even dangerously.
I know, but that's the thing. We've been extremely consistent.
Yeah.
During that time set, and that is what matters, right? And the other thing, like you said, if you get away from the sugary foods, abstinence actually is easier than trying to do moderation, right? Because what the heck does even moderation mean, for one thing?
Right.
But for me, if I eat one slice of pie, I might as well eat the whole pie because I'm going to keep eating. So it's better for me just to not do that. Not to say that we haven't found some, keto recipes, some low carb recipes for some things that we like.
Right.
But it's not every day, right? These are things that are like more special occasion and things like that. Partly because they're kind of dissatisfying a lot of ways. They're not going to meet your craving of that originally sugary food, right? And that's probably okay because.
Well, I think they serve a function to kind of help people transition, but in the long run, a lot of those keto snacks and fat bombs and, simulated desserts and stuff like that are probably not a good long-term strategy. No. But for people who are afraid to try keto, let's say, to make the transition, it gives them some hope that they're not going to be stepping into territory where there's nothing familiar.
Right.
Right. But, I experimented. I made various breads. I made bread out of almond flour and ground flaxseed. I experimented with that stuff. And like, sometimes I'd go somewhere. I have a friend who's keto, but his extended family isn't. And I made some crackers out of almond flour and like Parmesan cheese. And then I made this huge thing out of Braunschweiger liverwurst kind of something. And I got a internet connection issue, sorry. But people ate that food and didn't think anything of it, and so as much as that's not something I do for myself regularly, it's kind of a gateway ambassador to people who might want to. You have a cat walking around or something? Dog walking around?
I have 3 dogs walking around.
I can see the reflection of it. Anyways, you know, those foods, as much as they're probably not a good long-term strategy, they do sort of serve a purpose in helping people transition, I think. So
Yeah. Hmm. Well, we are eating the chaffles lately. That's kind of the big craze right now, and really, that's just it's cheese and eggs, and you throw it in a waffle maker, and yeah, it works pretty good. Throw a little coconut flour in it, and you basically have waffles now. And matter of fact, we had some for dinner. So
I've been meaning to try that, and then I realized I didn't have a waffle iron anymore. So, when I moved out of my last house, I had 6 freaking waffle irons.
6 waffle irons.
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
that's dedication.
yeah, I didn't buy any of them. That's the other weird thing. When I got
Mhm.
them all out, and then we were looking around because I was going to try that because lots of people in my groups have been talking about it. I thought, well, I'll give it a try. It's just another way of cooking.
Yeah.
I didn't have any. I found a Pizzelle iron. I've never made pizzelles in my life, and I might give that a try.
I don't even know what a pizzelle is.
It's kind of like a waffle cookie.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of comes in there, and it's like it's like a waffle iron with a floral pattern in it, rather than a waffle pattern, if that makes any sense. But
Yeah, well, that would probably do the same thing. I mean,
I might just have to do that because
Mhm.
I'm dying to try it. So
Yeah, and it's really great. I mean, I think Shauna puts a little bit of coconut flour in, a little bit of baking powder, just to kind of make it a little bit crispy. Sure enough, works good. And then we recently got an air fryer also, so you can actually reheat them in the air fryer, and they kind of even crisp up even more. So I'm happy with that. It's a nice thing, and so that definitely takes care of that kind of breadish um, um, feeling you want.
that texture,
The
yeah.
texture, yeah, and so it gives you something to scoop your food up with and eat. So it's like, hey, this is kind of like normal life now.
Well, I see those various waffle like concoctions, and I think that'd be convenient food because I take food
Mhm.
made at work and stuff like that. I probably eat more meals at work than I do at home these days.
Right.
So something like that is like really portable, you know, and easy to eat. So
Hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. I mean, pretty low bar there though, right? I mean, I don't really have to have anything like that. I just like eggs anyway. So
yeah.
I know you've been trying to limit your eggs, or you're trying to see if you can introduce them back into your diet, see if it doesn't impact your psoriasis. Good
Right.
luck on that. Hope
Yeah,
that works out for you.
I did a video earlier that I haven't released just on the technique of hard boiling eggs because I don't like spending a lot of time in the kitchen,
Hmm.
and I do a lot of meal prep, let's say on the weekend for the week.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where my mindset is: get things done quickly and be ready for the week. And of course, that's a good tool just for compliance. You know, when you want to, you know, like I said, I've been doing weightlifting now, and I'm following somebody else's program. You know,
Hmm.
trying to be, you know, and I think if before I had been on keto and before I'd been on carnivore, following somebody else's weightlifting program and nutrition program probably would have been really difficult. But it's the incremental steps of trying things and having that practice behind me has actually made it very easy to do. You know,
Right.
just
Hmm.
being able to prep food and have it ready, know understanding macronutrients, and you know, just staying within the envelope and having the tools to do that. And I think once people learn to take these steps, whatever it is, even if it's just going for a walk after a meal,
Hmm.
uh, little things like that add up to changing your life, right?
Right.
And then when you
Hmm.
hear about things that sound grandiose, like I don't know if you've done a whole lot of fasting, but my first experience fasting, I fasted for 10 days and I couldn't believe it.
Hmm.
I did it more out of curiosity than anything else. You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
and when I put that behind me, it was, you know, for lack of a better word, it was empowering. If
Right.
anything, it kicked my curiosity into overdrive. It's like, well, what else can I do? You know, so
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. That's the one thing with this way of eating is fasting is really not a big deal, right? I mean, you can fast for a day
yeah,
or two without even really. Sometimes, I've gone a day and just forgot to eat, right? And that's how that how that seems to happen with this way
Yeah.
of eating. But I can't, before doing keto, doing a regular, standard American diet, could have never imagined going, like, wait a minute, what do you mean not eat for a day or 2 days? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's horrifying. That sounds like hell.
Yeah, I understand, because I would have been horrified by that idea, and I often think about, why do we think that not eating is because we feel when you're on a regular diet and you're eating carbs, especially processed carbs all the time, you start to feel sick when you don't eat all the time,
Sure.
and you're like, oh, I don't want to battle that sickness, and then when you're like, well, when you eat a meat heavy fatty diet, you don't get that sickness anymore. You're like, yeah, I could eat.
Yeah, eat or not eat it. It's fine. I don't really care. I'm not that hungry. I mean, that's not a big matter of fact. Last weekend or last Friday, we had a mandatory training function at work, and so everybody would be there, and they provided lunch. It's like, okay. So I walk up there, and they had lasagna and rice were the two options. So I'm like, looks like I'm just going to fast, because that's, and it's not a big deal, right?
Right.
Really was, if they'd have had, chicken or something like that, that'd have been great. I'd have eaten it, but they didn't. So I'm like, no big deal. I mean, actually, I found that sometimes if I'm like leading a meeting or something, and it gets near lunchtime, or I'm continuing going on, and all of a sudden they'll stop me and say, "We're kind of hungry." I'm like, "Oh, sorry, you guys are like your regular humans. You got to eat several times a day." I forget.
Yeah.
And plus that, they're going to eat a big lunch, and then they're going to come back in about 2:30. They're going to crash, right? They're going to be sleepy at their desk or whatever. I don't have that issue anymore, right? Because my blood sugar's not going up and down and up and down. It's pretty stable.
Right.
Huge advantage that people just don't realize how much more productive you can be when you're not worried about your next meal.
Yeah, I get a little horrified by reflecting on certain things. One of them is how much time I've spent in my life sitting in traffic, and the other was in a state of lethargy. In the past, when I ate the typical diet, like you said, after you get that crash after lunch or whatever, and you're just lethargic and sluggish, and maybe you wake up with brain fog, And now it's like, I remember life being that way. And I think, God, the quality of life that impacts for so many people, finding the right diet for you changes that. It makes every day better, right? It gives you better quality, and it makes the time that you're alive a better quality time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's just amazing. I'm just thinking about years back when, I'd get up in the morning, I'd go in and work early, and the first thing I would think about was, what am I going to eat for breakfast, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was just always like the top of my mind, and so and now I don't eat breakfast, not because I'm against eating breakfast. It's just I'm not hungry. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Usually it's 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I'll think, oh, maybe I should probably eat something. But if I don't, it's not the end of the world. I'll just wait till I get home. It's not,
right.
One of the things that being a consultant, my life is meetings, right? So there are many days where I'm in meetings from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yikes.
Look up and it's like, oh, well, I didn't eat today. Oh, well, I'll just wait a couple hours, and when I get home, I'll get something or whatever. But most people would be panicking. And as a matter of fact, I see it, right? People will excuse themselves to go get themselves something to eat right in the middle of the meeting and come back. I don't blame them. I understand. You got to do what you got to do. But
yeah,
these are, or they'll say, oh my gosh, I've got to go eat before we have this next meeting. It is so freeing not necessarily having to do that.
Yeah,
much
it
more
is.
productive humans.
Yeah, and like right now, I'm eating basically based on a strategy built around my weightlifting. So because I'm completely independent of any sort of like strong hunger signals. I could follow those instructions with ease, right? I don't think I could have done that if I was on a regular, typical diet.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, in years past, I used to run a lot. Was following a vegetarian diet and running 20 to 30 miles every week, and calorie restricting too. And it was very, very hard because I was trying to lose weight even then, right? So always have been trying to get this weight off. And initially I did, right? I think I lost 40 pounds initially, and then I gained 60 while I was still running, while I was still a vegetarian. Because one thing is my appetite just increased. I mean, I had to eat, and I justified it, right? Well, I'm burning all these calories. I'm burning, 10,000 calories, every few days, every month or whatever extra, so I can eat more. And my metabolism was, at rest metabolism was slowing way down because I was restricting calories when I did restrict calories. So it's total self-sabotage in that respect.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing when, even when the subject of fasting is sort of controversial, because you can slow down your metabolism, you can sort of impair mitochondrial function and stuff like that, but it is a powerful strategy to achieve an end, so it has its place. But I don't think people should. I think once people aren't afraid of it and they realize it's a powerful tool, just like a state of ketosis is a powerful tool. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody needs to do it all the time, but understanding the role of it in how to use it as something to resolve a health issue or meet a goal or something like that. I just think of all the money we'd save on healthcare.
I'm a big proponent of that. I mean, I wish that's one of the bigger reasons that I'm so passionate about it, is seeing how much we are spending on healthcare as a country, and knowing that if we can handle some of these core issues, especially, hyperinsulinemia, blood sugar going up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
We could just learn to control that, we would probably save billions, maybe trillions of dollars every year in healthcare.
Right.
It's just absolutely ridiculous, and it's kind of sad actually to see, kids, really young kids that are, their diet is so bad that they've got eczema and everything else. It just seems so unnecessary, right? And they're just pushing, fruit and fruit juices and everything else down them all the time. Crackers, cookies.
Yeah, we're seeing meatless Mondays pop up at schools and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we just are self-sabotaging. It's something I am really regretting seeing. And then people just are deaf to it. When you bring it up to them, they get angry at you. It's like, look, I'm not trying to be critical of it. I'm just saying this might help you. But then they get back to the the argument of lack of imagination again. They're like, I could never imagine being without bread or without cereal.
Right.
And we need grains. Grains are, and fiber. That's what fills you up. No.
Yeah, it could fill you up for a little while.
Yeah, I guess. Did you see? There was a video I saw a while back where this doctor, I can't remember the name of this diet, but what he did, he said, if you would just eat a can of corn, maybe you've seen this, and don't chew it, right? Eat the whole can of corn until it fills up your belly, you will eat less calories. And he's probably absolutely right. You just aren't, if you chew it, you're digesting it. But the whole idea is to eat non-digestible food until you're full. Yes, you might as well eat a balloon, right? It's about as nutritious, right?
Right.
Blow it up.
Right.
But that's not the same thing as satiety, right? That's making you kind of feel full.
Right.
But that's not a healthy way to
right.
Weight.
Yeah, your body's still going to have a requirement for certain nutrients, and that's probably one of the biggest problems with the modern diet is there's so many highly caloric foods that we can eat that just don't provide what our body really wants. So then we just keep eating. We're taking too many calories and not enough nutrients. And I think that's one of the greatest deceptions of all time, is that, you know, meat really is a very nutrient dense food.
Right.
So they make it sound like it's not, because it's doesn't have as much of some obscure micronutrient as some plant. They never talk about the negatives of eating those plants, right? It's like they want to make it sound like spinach and kale are the be all end all, you know, like we're supposed to eat tofu or something like that. And really those foods typically aren't that good for people.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I think you're probably familiar with Dr. Ted Nyman.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, where he talks about that protein to energy ratio. Yeah, I think probably the most important nutrient we can think of is protein, right? So when your body, the reason that protein works is that when you hit that certain level, it says, okay, you've hit the protein I need. I'm done seeking nutrients right now. So, and that's the problem. Even foods that people will say are higher in, that are non-meat sources higher in protein would be like quinoa, right? Well, quinoa, yep, it's kind of high in protein, but it also has 54 grams of carbs per serving. So it's still a huge energy ratio to low protein. You can get it, but you're eating these things it takes so much of them to eat to get to that level. And that doesn't even count how much fiber's in it. So it's non-digestible. So it's not really bioavailable. Right. So you're just eliminating it from your body immediately anyway. So you're not getting the benefit of it.
Well, the very best plant protein sources are at least 10% less absorbable, right? And then you factor in things like phytates and stuff like that. You may be absorbing the protein, but then the phytates are binding to things like calcium or whatever and preventing you from absorbing them. So you might get the protein, but you might be getting robbed of something else.
And it's leaching it from your body too. You know, it's actually robbing it from you, not adding it to you. So yeah, I'm not here to bash vegans or vegetarians or anything like that. But the thing is that I really feel strongly that we need to be prioritizing animal proteins, animal foods.
Yeah, I feel for the vegetarians and the vegans, because they suffer from the same bad information we all suffer from. I mean, this started before we were born, right? These ideas and these concepts of animal fat being bad and cholesterol is the enemy and so on and so forth, and somehow we need to eat grains and stuff like that. And it hasn't withstood the test of time. Science has kind of pointed us in the other direction, so we were completely wrong about that. It doesn't matter whether we look at the modern studies or we go back and we dig up the skeletons of people that came before us. It's pretty clear we should not be eating grain every day.
Right.
That's like a backup. We're probably better off just feeding it to the livestock and eating the livestock. So.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure I want my food eating too many grains either, to be honest with you. Let them eat the grass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, that would be better. I mean, obviously, we're not going to change the industry overnight. They're still much better at processing grains into fats and proteins than we are.
Right.
But still, I would prefer my food not eating that food either, to be honest.
Right. Well, yeah, it depends on the animal, right? I mean, cows should be eating grass, right?
Yeah. It's better for their life too. I mean, I really just feel that. I mean, I really do care about the animals. It's not that I want it, that I want to go out there and seek to butcher. If anything, if I eat primarily beef, a cow would probably feed my wife and I for an entire year.
Right.
That's one animal.
Yeah.
Don't eat a whole lot of chicken. You're just doing the math. I mean, you have to kill a lot more chickens to feed humans. If that's really what your concern is, then one cow would probably be better off overall.
Absolutely.
And especially if they're humanely treated.
Yeah, if you live on a plant-based diet, you know, somebody like me or you, we need somewhere in the neighborhood of 5, 6, I probably can eat 700 or 800 pounds of beef a year.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're on a plant-based diet, you're going to need somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 100% more of that in produce.
Right.
We all know a large amount of produce never even makes it to the shelf. It's a waste for one reason or another.
Yeah, and then if you don't eat it right away, it's going to be wasted in your house as well, right? So it's going to end up in your trash. And that was one of the first things that we noticed when we got on basically kind of a whole foods keto. Obviously, most people go through that little bit of I got to buy all the MCT oil and yada yada yada. But once we got past that and just started ordering, buying meat and a few vegetables, well, we don't hardly have any trash we take out, right? Because there's no boxes. We're not throwing away extra vegetables. We're not throwing away, things aren't spoiling. If it's just my wife and I here, we make small portions and we eat that. We eat all of it. There's no leftovers.
Yeah.
So that's one of the first things I noticed is the trash volume just dropped to nothing, right? You used to eat cereal, right? A few boxes of cereal a week would add up. And
sure.
The healthy granola bars and protein bars and things like that. That it just created a lot of waste that we don't see anymore.
Yeah, it's oddly friendly for the planet, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's kind of strange, right? I don't use any straws.
Every time. Yeah, I don't drink meat through a straw either. I hear them talking about trying to build these giant skyscraper-sized buildings that are gonna actually be systems for filtering carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. And I'm like, well, all we have to do is get rid of some of these crops and put prairie grass back, or start putting ruminants out in the areas that have turned into desert and turn them back into pasture or savannas, and let the ruminants roam on them, and they're going to capture that CO2, and it's going to live and be trapped in the form of prairie grass or some sort of plant material, and then the ruminants are going to eat that, and then we're going to eat them, and the cycle just keeps on going.
Yeah.
So why build a giant skyscraper to filter out CO2, right?
We want to try to solve problems, right? And it seems like a lot of times every time we try to come up with technology to solve a problem, we make it 10 times worse.
Right. Why not put it back the way it was?
Right.
And I know that's a common practice in cattle ranchers, of going back and putting native grasses back in and taking out non-native trees, and putting a mixture of animals back on the land. So that's a new movement. So and in the end, once they make that investment, it tends to be a lot less work for them and a lot more productive food wise,
and more ethical for the animals as well, right? I mean, they live a better life. They get to move around. They eat more foods that are more appropriate for their diet, rather than this GMO wheat.
One of the things that kills me, people say, well, grass-fed beef isn't as fat because it takes too long to fatten a cow on grass. But if you see how it goes, they bring these cattle in, they kill them, and then they quarter them, and then they ship out these, huge sections of beef, and then they get to the store, and then they cut all the fat off of them.
So they've wasted anyway, right?
It's like, why don't you just leave the fat on? I mean, I understand there's the appeal of a nicely marbled steak. And I understand that, to some extent, when you hang the beef and let it age, some of that fat infiltrates, stuff like that. And then some people don't like that because there's more histamine in the meat, and some people are histamine sensitive. Yeah. But if you just leave the fat on the beef and cook it that way and eat the fat, you could dip the meat in the fat. Why cut the fat off and throw it away? And why bother sending the cattle to the feedlot to be fattened up on grains that probably wouldn't eat, when you could just leave the fat on?
I don't know, man. Why we do things the way we do is a mystery in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to go back to something you said. You said, sometimes you mention to people that, like, well, maybe if you change what you ate and you don't want to be pushy. And I think that the message in there for me was that, what we really just have to do is just kind of lead by example, because people will see the changes.
Mhm.
People know you over time. People might see this video, and there's people that are ready to hear a message of, yeah, there's something different out there, and it's really not that bad to change. I mean, you could change one day at a time, get a little practice at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing about just sort of planting the seed and letting people know that there's something out there. And when they're ready to hear it, they'll go looking for it. And when they see a change in somebody and they're motivated by the change they saw in somebody else, that's really the people that you can help, right?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, people will only change when they're ready to change, when they're ready to hear it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, when somebody might ask you what you're doing, that's fine. But when they ask you how you did it, okay, they're ready to listen, because now they've noticed that you've changed, and they want the same thing, right? So once you kind of hit that meeting point where you realize that they really want the same thing for themselves, they've run into some concern about their own health. Maybe they've tried different things and it hasn't worked for them, and they see that it did work for you.
Right.
That's when their questions mean more than other times when people's like, oh, you're on that keto thing, huh? Oh, that total different conversation, right? Because that, okay, they're coming from an area where they're just, all they want to do is be critical.
Right.
And I don't really necessarily engage those folks and say, yeah, you're right, man. You got me. It's not working for me, I guess.
I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm just one of those guys that doing this crazy thing. I've only been doing it for a year, and it's working for me.
Yeah.
And if you that's not what you're ready to go down that path right now, then don't. Keep doing what you're doing until you realize that you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. You're going to find a point. Okay, well, maybe I need to change it up a little bit, and that's where I'm at. I'm here to help you when you get to that point.
Yeah, I'm coming up on about 22 months carnivore now. And I was about 10 or 11 months keto before that, and I don't struggle with it at all. And I spend less money on food than I used to, and I eat much better. I enjoy my food much more, and I wonder, how do you tell people that there's an option like that? I don't, out of the gate, nobody's going to get it perfect, and
Right.
You got to get over those cravings, and you got to change the way you think, and you got to look at the results. I mean, if you have autoimmune diseases like we did, that's got to be your priority. I made that my priority. I'm like, you know what? I've got to deal with this psoriasis and this arthritis before I, worry too much about, what my body fat percentage is.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is truly about getting healthy. In my case, my motivation was the type 2 diabetes. And so that was my thing. Okay, I've got to do something to not have to be able to inject myself with insulin all day long, and keep testing my blood.
Yeah,
and that was, to me, that was the big thing. And once you get that under control, weight loss is great. It really is. But it's not as important as getting those health markers where they need to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And so that to me is probably and feeling great. Yeah, feeling good matters, right?
Good,
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And that's one of those things too. Even when I was running, 30 miles a week.
Yeah.
Initially, my blood sugar did drop and my blood pressure dropped, but I felt like crap.
Yeah.
I was always so tired and so exhausted. So yeah, having both things, right? Getting your health markers in and feeling great and losing weight. So it's like one thing builds on another and builds on another and builds on another.
Yeah.
And I get it. Some people think, wow, you sound like you're some sort of faith healer or something. But this is not a religion, really. I mean, you can make these small changes. And one thing, like I said, I talked about earlier, but what I love about the Dr. Eric Westman protocol is it's, you're just eating fatty cuts of meat and non-starchy vegetables, or in case you're doing carnivore, I mean, there's a lot of overlap there. That's it, right? There is no complicated macronutrient, 80%, 5%, 50%. No, none of that.
Yeah.
Just eat nutritious foods, right? Eat nutrient-dense food. In this case, what we mean by that is meat, and eat a lot of it until you're full.
Right.
I don't preach in any of our groups fasting. I just don't do it.
Right.
Effectively, you end up doing it, right? Because you are satiated for so long.
Right.
But I do know that some people do have a tendency to get obsessed, right? And we don't want to push eating disorders on people, because some people will, right? So if we just get them to focus on eating healthy, nutritious food, eating a lot of it, and not eating when they're not hungry, if something like a concept of fasting is triggering for them, or something that might cause them to go down the path of obsession, all right, well, let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about creating a system of eating for you. And occasionally, if you end up going a longer period of time and you feel great about it, you can call it fasting if you like. That's super. But let's just get the system in place for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's it. Just give people the basic information to make the changes, and just kind of encourage them and give them some tips and maybe some recipes or something.
Yeah, I mean, we put on our sites, we definitely post recipes out there, and we have one of our groups is keto for autoimmune diseases, and sometimes people say, "Oh, but I thought that you guys, we didn't eat dairy." And I said, "Whoa! This is not the AIP group, okay? Some people can handle dairy, some people can handle eggs, and if you can't, that's okay. Then don't eat it, but don't try to make everybody else fit under your particular restriction because it's what you're doing." We're a wider umbrella than that. Really, this is a keto for autoimmune, not an AIP for autoimmune. This is not that strict of a protocol. Now, do the N=1, right? If you find that you can't eat dairy, then by all means, don't eat dairy, right? And I even highly recommend it. Go ahead and do a carnivore experiment for 30 days.
Sure.
Right? Do it. I mean, I did it. I did it for 30 days, and I think it did help me with, get over that last bit. And then I was slowly introduced to a few things, and I was always be testing, right? So, okay, I was able to eat that. I feel okay. No problem. I can eat eggs. Cool. I can have a little cheese. I don't overdo the cheese, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a little bit of cheese, okay.
Just on the topic of cheese, if I stick to really well-aged cheeses, stuff that been aged over a year, and I read about this, most of the casein proteins have been digested by then or been altered enough that there's very little left. So I'll buy Romano and a Parmesan and Manchego and a cheddar. Seems like
the really super sharp cheddar. Yeah.
It's hit or miss, but the last one I got, in fact, I just had some. It was a minimum of 15 months, and it was a yellow cheddar with no dye in it or anything like that. And it doesn't seem to bother me. So
always be testing, right? So fine. Obviously, there might come a threshold that you can't get past that point. Okay, well then back off. But that's the reality. We need to eat those things that we can and avoid those things that really bother us. One thing that really bothers my wife, she has IBS, or had IBS, because she doesn't have it so much anymore, but Brussels sprouts. She loves them, but no. They are a no for her, right? Because if she eats more than 2 or 3, she's in trouble. And the way we cook them, and bacon grease, they're really delicious, right? So she's not going to eat just 2 or 3. So she's like, well, you know what? I think I'll just not eat those anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And cabbage is another one for. So, once you identify what some of those things are that are irritants for you, just avoid those things.
Yeah, I find like lettuce really innocuous. I eat it every once in a while. I'll have a lettuce wrapped burger or something, or if I'm somewhere and they're serving salad or something, I'm just trying to make nice, not make a big deal of the fact that I don't eat vegetables. I will eat lettuce.
Right. Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I don't notice any difference at all. I really don't.
Lettuce is just pretty much water, right?
But some people can't eat it,
Well, I'll be honest with you. There's some vegetables now that I used to really like that I now just find so boring.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, like lettuce being one of those. Lettuce and broccoli, it's so boring to me. It's like, why am I even eating this?
Mm-hmm.
So now, back to your point, I only eat the foods that I really love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I eat those. I eat those until I'm full.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely enjoy. Well, by waiting until you're really hungry to eat too.
Mm-hmm.
Means when you do eat, that's like the best food you've ever had. Right? Because you wait until you're really, really hungry. And when you're cooking up that ground beef or whatever, that just smells like the best thing you've ever smelled in your life. And that's, to me, it's just, you really enjoy eating more that way because it's not just time to eat. You're eating because you need it.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really thought I'd enjoy ground meat as much as I do now. And a lot of times I eat ground beef or even ground turkey just for the convenience and the fact that it digests faster. So,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm trying to time meals around weightlifting and stuff like that, getting it in and getting it absorbed faster can be a help, and if you're chewing on a steak. Although I have to say, sometimes raw meat seems to digest even faster than cooked meat. And I know scientifically may or may not make any sense. And I asked an expert, I probably shouldn't say who, but they actually said that raw meat is slightly more nutritious, but the difference between cooked and raw was fairly minimal, which makes sense. And I know that back when I was reading about vegetables, some vegetables were better absorbed when they're cooked and some weren't. And then it really came down to which nutrient you were looking at. So it's a complicated mess, but I'll be honest with you, I've had some of my best workout recoveries just eating raw sirloin tip steak. A lot of places around here, especially the Mexican market, sell it sliced really thin, and it's really soft. And sometimes I'll run over to the market after I work out and grab some of those and eat them on the way back to the office because I hoof it just for a little extra exercise. And it's like a really, and I'm not saying eating raw meat's safe, but I do it all the time. I love it and I feel great. So I don't know.
That as long as you're not getting sick from it, you're probably adjusting. Your microbes in your stomach are probably adjusting to being able to eat raw meat, and that's probably fine. I mean, if you think about, you can, because if you go down to Mexico or South America and you drink their water and you're not used to drinking their water, you're going to get sick.
Yeah. Well, they can get sick when they come up here and drink our water too.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you're able to adapt to different things.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't tell a person go out there and eat raw meat on a regular basis if they're not used to it. Could be causing some trouble.
Yeah.
But maybe if you slowly adapt yourself to that way, you probably could.
Well, you ever go out and eat sushi? You ever eat a bunch of like bluefin or something, and you're like, I noticed that a long time ago. Go out and eat salmon or sushi raw all the time, and you're like, God, that's just especially when it's just sashimi. You get such a digestion is just so easy and clean, and you just feel good. You get energy from it right away, and there's no stomach upset, there's no heartburn, there's no bloating or anything. And I get this certain cuts of beef, I get the same sort of feeling. And one of the most delicious pieces of meat I ever had is one of the local markets had a special on keto salmon. I never had keto salmon before, and I went and I bought one. I cooked it and ate it, and then I went back and I ate some more. I got some more, and I ate it in my car on the way home. It was so good.
Mm.
And it was just fantastic. And I haven't gotten any, there hasn't been any available since. It came from a salmon run in Alaska. You know, it's like a seasonal thing, and they just happen to have it. And it's just amazing. And I think that we probably evolved doing stuff like that. You know, we were eating leftovers from animals that that were killed by bigger predators. And then we eventually learned to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
We were wading around in tide pools, eating mussels and clams and, salmon and whatever else, octopus. And
Well, that's probably what sparked our brain growth. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Eating those fatty fishes and things like that, definitely.
Stealing it from a bird nest, maybe.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So yeah, I can see Tom up there hanging out there in the Pacific Northwest with the grizzlies fighting over the salmon.
Running from grizzlies, yeah. But this is a kind of a gruesome example, but a coyote ate a cat in my front yard the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And it ate the guts out of it and left the legs and the back and the tail and the head and everything, right? So
that's how it works.
It's still there,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why we like eating muscle meat so much. And of course the brain's there, and we know there's all this archaeological evidence of us pounding bones with rocks and eating the marrow out of it and splitting open the brain case, because bears don't eat brains, wolves don't eat brains. Hyenas might, but they're one of the few animals that are expert at cracking open a brain case and eating the brains.
Yeah, they've got the strongest jaw strength, I think, on the planet, right? The hyenas.
Yeah.
They can definitely do that.
They're the people of the animal kingdom, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The real top predator. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, they don't kill most of their prey. They're scavengers, right? So they'll steal
They are known as scavengers, but they're
they can kill. Yeah, they can kill, but I think primarily they steal the kills from every other animal.
Yeah. And maybe they were our first dogs. Maybe we were side by side scavengers,
Well, hyenas are not dogs. They're actually weasels.
Weasel dogs. Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, they look so weird anyway, but they're not canine.
They're a strange looking animal, aren't they?
Yeah. Very good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a great one, man. Are you ready to wrap her up?
Yeah, it's almost midnight here. I'm getting a little tired. So.
Oh yeah, it's getting late.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. This is a great conversation. I think a lot of people are going to get some useful information out of it. So
cool, man. Sounds good. Well, hey, we'll do this again sometime, and I think we're planning to make another video on our channel, our Facebook groups tomorrow, so we'll be sharing that. So
excellent.
And it's going to be about we're getting really to help people motivate, but you really deserve to be healthy. And that's kind of what we're pushing out here right now, that, you're not overweight because you're a bad person. You're not overweight because you're a glutton. You're overweight because you're misinformed.
Yeah.
And we just want people to learn how to eat better and how to take better care of themselves. And that's kind of what our message is kind of shifting to right now. And that's what we're going to be kind of focusing on over the next few weeks.
Excellent. Sounds like a great message.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will definitely see you online, see you on Facebook. I'll put links to your groups in the show notes. And
appreciate it, man.
And your YouTube channel as well. So good seeing
you. All right.
You're looking good.
All right. Thanks, sir. You as well. I definitely mentioned that when I first saw you. You're really toned up and you look great.
I'm getting there. I got a ways to go, but I'm getting there.
It's a journey.
Yeah. All right, buddy. You take care.
Take care.